New Year's resolutions. Well, I guess the first one's going to be sleep off the New Year's hangover before making more videos. But before I get on to New Year's resolutions, I really want to say a big thank you for all the support that you've given this channel, not just in 2016, but over the years. I mean, 2016 for me was, it really was one of the most fantastic years, and a lot of it comes down to what's on the table in front of me. I mean, this was the year that I got both the thermal camera through a crowdfunder and the high-speed camera. And, you know, these have already done good service in, yeah, so with the thermal camera, the thermal video on its own looks pretty cool, but when you have a better understanding of what you're actually seeing, then you can see all sorts of extra details in it that you might otherwise miss. So, you know, I've been in the process of making a load of videos explaining the infrared, you know, a load of which are already up. The entire visible spectrum is basically 1 micron, and your eyes are sensitive to the 0.4 to 0.8 microns bit. So it's about 1,000 times smaller than the thickness of a dime. So the entire visible spectrum goes from about 0.4 to 0.8 microns, whereas what the thermal camera is sensitive to is about 1 micron to 14 microns. 1 or 2 more to go, yeah, most notably about something called emissivity. But yeah, already this has actually thrown up some really interesting stuff. The first one was just, I just filmed myself in an exercise bike for 20 minutes just to see what it would look like, and you come up with this really stunning observation that the forearms are basically, the forearms and the palms are where you dump all of the heat in the body. And that got me thinking along the lines that, well, all that heat is you're basically burning whilst you're doing that. You're breathing in the oxygen, you're breathing out the carbon dioxide, and you can do the macroscopic calculations for the day, and you know that you're breathing out about, you know, kilo and a half carbon dioxide per day, which when you actually work out per minute, that means you're breathing out about 1 gram of carbon dioxide per minute. And the next thought comes is, okay, so you're breathing in the oxygen, you're breathing out the carbon dioxide. Somewhere in the body there, you're actually burning carbon. So where's that carbon coming from? So if I eat a sugar bar, how long is it between when I eat that sugar on the exercise bike and when I eat that, the carbon in that sugar is actually coming out as carbon dioxide when I've metabolized it? And so as a sort of, you know, prelude to that, I've actually got one of these things, this is just a data logger, and it comes with a carbon dioxide detector and an oxygen detector. So, you know, just this won't tell you the details of what I'm after. I mean, for the details of what I'm after, you would actually have to eat isotopic sugar, which is quite expensive. But, you know, so that's something that's on the cards is, you know, how long is it between when I eat something and breathe it out? And, you know, is it different if I eat sugar or oil or whatever? So yeah, that was one of the interesting things that came out of the thermal camera. I mean, another one, it's just sort of random stuff, but yeah, when I looked in the beehive, and that was fascinating for me that the bees actually in the middle of winter, the middle of the bee is 30 degrees. It's like body temperature in the middle of winter. And you know, when you actually zoom right up, I went back to the hive the next day. I've not put the video up yet, but you actually see that the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, they're all different temperatures. And this for me was a fascinating observation. I took a quick look around online, and there is other video of thermal image of bees, and you know, if you look at it, some of the bees are like that. I mean, the one that was stunning in winter is all bees with the same temperature. But yeah, I was curious as to why the different parts of the bee are at different temperatures. Anyway, so yeah, the rest is the various high-speed cameras, and a lot of this is tied up with the work on sodium and the Coulombic explosion. And of course, it all started off with years ago when, you know, literally I had to buy the stuff and there was no help from anyone else. And so, you know, I started out with this sort of $300 high-speed cameras, and they were pretty good. Obviously, I don't know whether you can see that, but he's been in the wars, that one. And then, you know, later on we went up, or yeah, when I was getting some crowdfunding, I went up to this sort of thing, which is this will do about 1,000 frames per second, something approaching HD. And now, of course, I've got this thing, which will do about 7,000 frames per second at HD. And so a lot of people actually had this comment, you know, why did I get this one? Yeah, there's this Chronos high-speed camera that is, you know, it's been done through crowdfunding. It looks pretty much on the level. And, you know, so this guy called Dave from EEV blog, he did a review of it, and he said, you know, it looked pretty good to him. So that all looks above board. So why didn't I get one of those? Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, they don't exist yet. You know, they're not you can't just buy one. They're still in the process of making them. And secondly, like I was saying, there's not much to a high-speed camera. There's the chip and a load of very high-speed memory. And so if you record a smaller frame, you can actually record it for longer or faster, depending on you know, the chip and the memory you've got. So I'm going to take a standard frame format, which is the one that I use for most of my videos, which is 720p. So it's 720 lines that way, 1280 that way. And this won't go up to 720, it goes up to about 500 lines, but at about 1,000 frames per second of that. The Chronos will do 720, but it does it at about 1,500 frames per second. This thing is about 5 times faster. And not only that, it'll actually record longer as well, because this is 32 gigabytes of memory, which I forget whether it's twice, I think it's twice as much as the Chronos had. And so like that, you know, this has distinct advantages over it. And there was another one which I was considering as well called the Edgertronic, which would do about 3,000 frames per second at 720p. But again, it had like half the memory of this, and it was, they were about $10,000 as well, 12. So, you know, it's almost the same price that I paid for this guy, but this guy it's 5 or so times faster, and it's got a lot more memory. So I was actually just playing around with this guy this morning, because at the moment, the downside, this thing weighs an absolute ton. It's like a 5 kilo camera, so I don't really have anything at the moment that'll actually mount it. So I was just sort of doing some stuff. Daylight is good for high-speed cameras because daylight is actually really powerful light. And I was just doing some fun stuff with a drop of mercury hitting water. Which is going to be on that side, and a drop of water hitting, coloured water hitting water, which I'm going to have over there. And even at that, it was doing really fascinating stuff. I was just messing around, but you know, the mercury, it sort of forms this wonderful little, it spreads out as it goes into the water. But the amazing thing is, with the mercury, you don't get any counter splash. It just sort of goes straight into the water. There's nothing that comes back out of the water. However, if you do it with water, there's this huge spike that comes back out afterwards. Not really thought about it much yet, but it's fascinating stuff. But anyway, the real reason I wanted the extra frames per second and the extra memory is I've got unfinished business with the sodium. So this camera is very comparable to the one which we got the very high-speed footage, the Coulombic explosion of sodium with, and that's the one that we got into nature. And there's more to it even than meets the eye at the moment. And it's one of those things that there's incremental discoveries, and there are, when you discover something that no one's really thought out before, it can have much wider implications than you might at first think. And there is a reasonable chance that yeah, these Coulombic explosion things might be in that category, in that yeah, not just because it goes bang. I mean, it going bang is actually pretty interesting, but there are other interesting things that it does. I can't go into too much detail because I've got collaborators and they don't let me talking about this unless we've actually got it in print first. But there is a load more interesting stuff to go on the sodium. I mean, so we actually got another paper out this year on sodium and how it goes blue when you add water to it. I've got a video on it which I keep on meaning to finish, but I mean, I'll just give you a brief description. That's not it. Where is that? There we go. So that is sodium chloride. It's rock salt. Little focus. There we go. Beautiful rock salt. But you see, it's blue. Now, the reason it's blue is because this sodium chloride was actually in a cave with uranium. And that uranium blasted some of the chlorine out of the structure, leaving little electrons in there which go blue. And bizarrely enough, you actually get a very similar phenomena when you add sodium, water to sodium. It just gets this wonderful blue color. And so there's, you know, quite a lot more stuff I've got to do on that. So yeah, I just wanted, before I move on to New Year's resolutions, to say a very big thank you for all of your support over the years. So, New Year's resolutions. First of all, I want to put all of this kit here to some very good use. Obviously, some of it's going to be the more sciencey end of stuff, but you can also do some incredibly fun stuff with this. So, for instance, this was a present from my brother at Christmas, and it's absolutely fantastic. It is, oops, he's upside down. Don't be upside down. I'm not doing well here. Get in. There we go. So this was a present from my brother. It's a flying monkey. So yeah, I was going to start with something light-hearted with the high-speed camera, but I've got to wait till I've got some better lights and some mounts for it and all that sort of thing. New Year's resolution number 2, I've still got unfinished business with Anita Sarkeesian, because apparently she was, I got sent this email saying that this guy was at this conference that she was at in Sweden or something, all checked out. And at that conference, she'd been bad-mouthing me, sort of saying how I wasn't even a real gamer. And it's like, really? It's true that I am a pale shadow of the gamer I used to be. You know, so when I was in my prime, and I still have recordings of me playing Unreal Tournament back in the day, and I look back at those recordings and yeah, I'm a monster back then. Now I'm nowhere near that good, but yeah, back in the day when I was in a clan, we only ever lost one clan match ever. Anyway, that's sort of by the by. But yeah, so I was following up what she's been doing for the last month, and it's absolutely hilarious. So yeah, I'm gonna do some stuff on that. New Year's resolution, make more videos this year than I did last year, which will actually be quite a challenge because it was quite a productive year last year. And then lastly, it's not so much a resolution as a question, because I'm curious. Was 2016 the peak year for social justice whiners, or are they going to do even better in 2017? Anyway, once again, so many thanks for all your support over the years.